We are live two ways. We are not live on Twitter today, but we are live on YouTube. We are live on Instagram. We have a baby with us who's hopefully not going to distract much. If you're on Instagram, you can't see the baby because you're on a tall screen. There she is.
No.
If you're on YouTube, I can't get the baby out of the picture. So anyway, this is the baby who wouldn't nap. She wanted to hang out with Chris Golcher with us. So hopefully she won't be too much of a distraction. And if she has any questions, we'll let her ask. But you're probably decently used to having babies around, your own babies, and you do work both birth doula and postpartum doula.
I do, yeah.
So, and the one thing I noted when I did the promo Instagram post and Facebook post was, I feel like all the different times that I have, met you for coffee, run into you here or there, exchanged an email, you had, just finished your training as an herbalist, just finished your training, or, a book that I had read and you're like, oh, that one's really good. So it seems like you're always learning in different ways. So what are some of the areas or sessions or the topics that you have enjoyed the most? Is whether they contributed a lot to your birth work or you just are glad that you get to know those things?
Oh, wow. Well, I think the herbalist program was maybe one of the most interesting side certifications I took, because I just had no idea how many ailments herbs could help with, emotionally and physically.
Sure.
So that was really interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you incorporated that into the birth and postpartum practices? Yeah. What are some of the...
Well, I make a lactation tea if people want to buy that. I have an Etsy shop for all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably the biggest thing I got out of it. Yeah. Herbal postpartum baths. I make up little kits for clients. Oh, gosh. Lactation herbs. Right? There are certain herbs that are good for helping with milk supply.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else.
Yeah. That's great. I think one of the times we met, you brought me a little lavender soap. You had been making soap.
Yeah. That's how it started.
Yeah, started with the soap and then just grew from there.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you grow any of your own herbs, or where do you get it supplied?
So I'm in an apartment in the city, but Mountain Rose Herbs is a great company to work with. Yeah, very popular. Highly recommend.
What do you see? This is not the Junia show.
Essential oils too.
Okay.
Nice, good quality stuff.
Yeah. What are your go-to oils that you would take with you for either a birth or a postpartum visit?
Well, I always have lavender because it's just so relaxing. Lemon is good for the nausea that women get during labor. And then I just recently read about maybe 4 different oils that can help with that.
Okay.
So like sweet orange, rose.
Okay.
I'm forgetting one. There are 4 though that really come in handy that I keep in my bag.
Right. Yeah. That's one thing I noticed is that even people that aren't sure how much they're going to enjoy scents ahead of time, because as a pregnant person you have that sensitive nose and things that you like you don't always like. Yeah. In those moments where you just bring out a new scent, it just does something to sort of transport and transform the space for the birthing person.
And I have my clients smell the different oils, during a prenatal, just to see what they think they like or what they like at the moment. But I always tell them, you might change your mind completely when you're in labor. And that has happened. Yeah. So just have to roll with it.
Yeah. We always do. I don't know if this is what you do, but I always put it on the tissue so that it can go down the toilet and far, far away.
Exactly.
It's no longer desirable.
Yeah. So you have to be careful about doing the diffuser in the room, because if you do that and they don't like it, it's kind of lingering in there for a while.
Exactly. Yeah. So how did you come upon doing birth work? Because is this a later on life career for you?
Yes, as you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. I've been doing it for 7 years. So about 8 years ago, my best friend had taken the doula training for her own purposes, and she was all excited about it. And she was telling me about it. We were sitting on the beach one day, and she just said, I think that you would really like this work. I think you should really think about this. And I had a totally different job at the time.
Yeah.
I was an office manager for a physician. So, completely different, but I kept thinking about it. And then I started reading up. I went on the Dona webpage to start reading up on it. And it just sounded like such rewarding, fulfilling work.
Yeah.
And it certainly is, as you can attest to. So I thought, you know what? That's like my passion. Like when I was younger, having my own babies, back then it was all about the natural childbirth movement and breastfeeding. And I was like one of the earliest breastfeeding peer counselors.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I think I decided that was probably my calling. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I gave notice at my job and jumped in like 7 years ago. Just kind of have been rolling along, adding things that I think might be helpful to the clients. So you can have like a one-stop shopping experience, if you will. So it's the most fun I've had in my work life. Yeah. And that's saying a lot at my age. Definitely the best work I've ever done. Yeah.
And so you were also newer to Philly around that time as well. You followed one of your children to Philadelphia.
Yeah, and this pretty much started after I moved here.
Okay.
Because, I was thinking about looking for another job in office management for physicians.
Yeah.
You know what? This would be a great time to just do what you think you're going to love. And I'm so glad I did. Yeah. So glad.
So with 8 years belonging to the Philly birth community, what are some things that you would say are perks and advantages and just things that you appreciate about being a birth worker here in Philly specifically?
I think we have a very supportive group. Yeah. And I have met such great women, yourself and so many other wonderful doulas and educators. And everybody's so willing to share work if they have extra work or back you up or ask you to be a backup. I just love the community feel of it. Yeah. I hope we can even, make it better. Yeah. If that's possible. Yeah. By doing things like this. Yeah. Well, this is my hope. My vision with this is like eventually a one-stop shopping for someone looking for a doula who, there are great resources like doulamatch.net, things like that, but somewhere where you can, no thanks. No thanks. Where somebody could, feel like they've actually sat down with you and they really get the chemistry of doula work is such a huge part of it. You sit down with someone and it's not the same to watch on a camera, but it's much different than just reading a paragraph on a website. Most definitely, yeah.
But I agree. I think some of I love the different events that we've had, the other birth workers that we're watching might have been a part of when Penny Simkin came and we got to host Penny Simkin, and we were just talking about Amy Wright Glenn coming and presenting a pregnancy loss workshop, and different film events, things like that have gone on. It's just I think it's an amazing
your
coffee
meetups you used to have. I used to love looking forward to those.
I was all on track to have these like monthly coffee meetups where I actually had, I think, 6 different people identified in 6 different parts of town that would each take 2 a year. And we're like, going to have them on the calendar every month. And then that was when we decided we were going to move. And so you can even see, if you look around, you can see where like I painted and then I stopped. I think all the boxes are unpacked. But,
life happens.
Life happens. Yeah. So hopefully that'll be something I'll get back into. Anybody who comes to me, I can have coffee with. So this is an open invitation. Chris came here to my house today. Anybody else who comes, you can come to my house and I'll make a great cup of coffee.
Sounds good to me.
If you don't mind the baby.
If I wasn't working overnight tonight, I would take you up on that. But I have to take a nap later. So.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways, you mentioned that with the doula schedule. I've talked to some of the other doulas that I've interviewed about this, that sometimes there's a post-birth ritual or routine for recovery when you've given so much of yourself emotionally and physically to a birth. And I would imagine the same thing when you're working overnights for postpartum. You have to do a lot of self-care to keep that schedule up. So what are some of your things that you do?
Well, like right now, for instance, I just have somebody 2 nights a week. Okay. She wants Tuesday and Friday nights. Mm-hmm. So that messes with your schedule when you're going to be doing some days and some overnights. So in this case, I'll go home, I'll take a nap this evening before I go. Mm-hmm. Just try to get through the beginning part of the night. Yeah. And then if you have to rest your eyes, you rest your eyes. Yeah. Usually parents don't mind that. Sure. And then take another nap in the morning so I can get back on daytime schedule. Yeah. It's not the easiest thing in the world.
Isn't. No.
People, it's a big need for people to have somebody there overnight.
Yeah. And explain a little bit. So I'm mostly focusing through the rest of this year on birth doula. So everybody that I'm interviewing is birth doula. And then I'm hoping to expand into more postpartum doulas. But just as a preview, for people that might not understand exactly what a postpartum doula does, can you give us a postpartum doula sort of elevator speech?
Yeah, yes, I definitely can do
Yeah.
that. It's all about, well, just as in birth, it's all about mothering the new mother and nurturing the new family.
Yeah.
So, you basically try to get there when they get home from their birthplace, wherever that may be. And you send that family to bed, all of them, because they're all exhausted after having this baby. That way they can sleep, rest, bond with the baby. And then you basically take care of them, like cook for them, make sure they're fed and hydrated, help with like baby care, like teaching bathing or helping with breastfeeding. And then you basically kind of take over their household chores while mom's not feeling well, you know? And then, so when you're in the beginning with a new family, you're there a lot, right? But then as the days go on, you kind of taper off your hours because mom starts to feel better. She can do a little more around the house so that you kind of just sneak away from them once they're competent and feeling better.
Yeah. And Philadelphia is such a city of people who came here from all over the world or all over the country. To do, for a job or to go to college or graduate school. And so there's just so many people who don't have family. I noticed that in my classes, a huge percentage of people in my classes are here with maybe one of the sides of the family in driving distance, maybe both of I had a couple this weekend, both of their families were from overseas. And so that's a big challenge if you don't have the family support and village that people at one time did. Sometimes living in their same home.
Yeah.
And so now you have people living in a city, and I think that's why that sort of support is so valuable.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I do run into that a lot where there's absolutely nobody around.
Yeah.
Mom is still over in India or China or whatever the case may be. And they just can't always get here to help out. So it's nice we can fill that void for people and take care of that mother really well. So she feels good about herself and moving on with her life with her baby.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what that's all about.
Yeah. Is there anything that, from your first conversation with your friend on the beach and you sort of imagined what doula work would be versus now being 8 years in and actually having attended all these births and supported all these new families? Is there anything that you're like, yeah, that's exactly how I thought it would be, and to compare that with something that's very different than what you expected, but maybe in a good way?
So honestly, even though I read up on it, I think until you start practicing, you really have no idea what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Seriously. So it's probably a lot different than I thought it was going to be, but in a more positive way, I think. I didn't know I would love it this much, Yeah, sure, it sounded great in theory, but it's so rewarding and so fulfilling, especially the birth part. If you can help a couple have the birth of their dreams, I mean, there's no better feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anything that is very different
than what I thought it was going to be?
Yeah. I'll give an example. I'll take up a little space. I think it's very interesting, and I think it's very good for people to hear this. I think I had this idea when I first started that doula work was really almost going to be primarily for people who did not want to use pain medication. And I thought that I kind of thought maybe I was doing my job more if they didn't need it, or if I somehow helps them to see the advantages of not having it. And I was bringing some of my bias in with it just from having had my own birth experiences where the pain medication wasn't available. And so I, kind of applying that towards, well, that's the birth that you're going to be the most proud of or the most feel like you've really done your job. But then realizing that it's actually so many times the births where either people are shifting in their ideas of what they wanted, or circumstances are thrust upon them, and that it's so much more about there not being any sort of idealized birth, and so much more about how does this set of circumstances match up with everything that this couple values in a way that they feel really good when things are over, even if it's such a deviation from their plan.
That's a very good point.
And I tell people all the time, I say in my classes, if you have this idea that doulas are trying to twist your arm to not get an epidural, we've all been the doula that has said, oh, it's time.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
time. If you get it, your partner's going to get a nap. You're going to get sleep, and I'm going to close my eyes for a few minutes when
Yeah.
people are just at that point of exhaustion.
Oh
so.
yeah, I've definitely been
Yeah.
there and made that suggestion.
Yeah.
You know, if you're at a birth for like a couple days, which does happen,
Yeah.
I think that's what I probably didn't expect. You know
Yeah.
how long these labors could be,
Mhm.
but yeah, if it's a couple days going in, you know that mama is just completely
Yeah.
exhausted and wiped out, and they're
Yeah.
not letting her eat, or they're
Right.
not letting her drink, and she can't sleep because she's in labor.
Yeah.
I had a mom one time. I think I was actually yeah. It was through another doula company that I was helping out.
Mhm.
She couldn't even keep her eyes open.
Mm.
And she hadn't even gotten to the pushing stage yet.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd say it, but I
Yeah.
was like, I think you need to think about the epidural.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get some rest,
Yeah.
there's no way you're going to be able to have the energy to push this baby out.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a very good example that you brought up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel, like that's part of what becoming more seasoned of a doula like you are, that's something you really have to offer people is this perspective, is all those different times.
Absolutely.
Nothing more is idealized at 8 years in, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 There's a lot of different women out there and they feel very differently about the whole experience. So yeah, it's really, you have to just turn off your own personal beliefs when you're with them and listen to what they want and help them get educated. That we can do, right?
Yeah.
Learn the risks of the epidural
Mhm.
instead of just the benefits.
Right.
But to help them get educated, and then whatever they decide, we just support them, whether it's what we did for ourselves or not, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as this, you said what you do ahead of your postpartum shift, that's going to be overnight. You get some rest ahead of time. But let's say you have just been at one of those, we call them marathon births, where you spent either several days at the hospital or several days coming and going, supporting someone. And now that you've left the new family, settled in, and you're heading home, what are some of the things you do for yourself to recover and take care of yourself?
Definitely a healthy meal.
Mm-hmm.
Because you probably haven't eaten very well in the last couple of days, and then sleep.
Yeah.
And for me, it's easy, because I'm an empty nester, so I'll just sleep as long as my body wants to.
Yeah.
And that's very healing.
Yeah.
And then if it was a real physical birth, which some of the natural childbirths can be very physical on the doula too. And if I'm really feeling it, I'll go for a massage. I'll treat myself to a massage.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite go-to massage therapist, or do you wander around?
I wander around.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're always looking for that perfect massage.
I had that perfect massage therapist, and she moved away.
Oh,
now
sorry.
I'm seeking again. So, it's so good to do that and to care for all the parts of you, to realize that your body and your, all the different parts of you need to have that same care that you've poured out to someone else.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah.
And then, as you probably know, sometimes the births are really emotional or traumatic. And if that's the case, then it helps to really talk to someone else, another doula about it. Maybe your backup that you had on, so you can kind of unload all those feelings. Because that's important too.
Yeah. Is there anything, I know you have so many different areas that you have sort of gained expertise and knowledge and certifications. Is there anything sort of up next, is something that you're the most curious about that you are considering learning more about?
So I have to say, I think I'm finally at peace with with learning what I've learned. And I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break now. I mean, I'm always looking for that next interesting topic or certification class, but right now all I'm trying to do is get through Babies Are Not Pizzas, the evidence-based birth book. That's what I'm working on at the moment. So nothing coming down the pike right now for other classes or workshops, but as you know, something will pop up that'll grab our interest.
So if you totally turn your brain off from birth work and you just enjoy a good TV show or enjoy a good book that doesn't have something to do with birth, what are some of those things that are your favorites?
So right now I'm reading, do you remember the girl with the dragon tattoo? Right. I'm reading the sixth and final book in that series, written by the second guy. The first author died, right? So he wrote 3, then this next guy wrote 3. So I'll just jump into some really interesting book. Getting tired.
You're going to fall asleep. You might fall asleep right here on camera. Oh my goodness.
But
Sleepy girl.
what I really love is just getting out and walking with my puppy.
Yeah.
I'm just going for long walks when it's nice out like this. That's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Hey, are you sleepy? Are you so sleepy?
And you had mentioned that. So one of the last things I remembered, one of the other times that we had coffee, was that you had been an Uber driver for a little bit, and you shared this morning that now you have given up your car and depend upon Uber drivers. So maybe one day, instead of someone who could be your doula being the one to pick you up, maybe someone will pick you up one day.
Oh, wouldn't that be something?
How about I give you a pumpkin?
Whoa, pumpkin.
We switched our fall decor. This would be a good time to mention. These pumpkins are reminding me because I switched to fall decor. I had mentioned last week when I was sitting down with Marcella that Morgan Sherwin was going to be with us in a couple days, but we've rescheduled that. So I don't know if you know Morgan.
I don't think I've met her.
If you know anything about Morgan, which I've know her mostly just through Facebook, it's that she is an eternal lover of summer. And I bought these pumpkins yesterday, and it almost felt like it was a personal affront to Morgan that I was putting fall decor up. Are you all done? Okay. I'm going to sit over here so we can keep talking to Chris. You can have your milkies. Okay. So, who are some of the other doulas that are there any that you most regularly would rely on for backup, or rely on you for backup, or?
It's really different every time.
Yeah.
Like whenever I'm hired for a birth, I'll just go to the Philly Doula Support Group, Facebook group, and usually there you can find somebody willing to be your backup.
Yeah.
So I've really had a great variety of different people
back
me up.
Yeah.
So nobody regular, it's just kind of like who's ever available for that time.
Have you, I guess at this point you've probably had the opportunity to work with clients have you worked with anyone for more than one birth where you were with them for a first baby?
Yeah, I have had a couple repeat clients, a few already.
Yeah.
So that's really neat.
That is fun.
Because then you really get to know the family when you go back a second time.
Right.
And see how they're growing. It's pretty neat. Yeah.
Let's see what else. We've covered a lot of really great stuff. I guess I wonder if you had, if you had really limited time to just pass on a few sentences of the very most helpful and important advice to parents that are preparing for birth, trying to figure that out. And also, you, as someone who has, you've raised your children, we had Marcella last week. So I asked her sort of this, like, did she have a snippet of advice for somebody with a newborn, somebody with a toddler, and somebody with a school age kid? So have you received any of those pieces of advice that just for the different seasons of life in parenting that you found to be the most helpful?
Wow. Well, the first thing that comes to mind for all of you with younger kids is when your daughters get to be maybe 15 to 17 years old.
Yeah.
Batten down the hatches.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably was the most trying time in raising my children. And I had two girls and then the boy. They pretty much turn into a different animal at that age, It's really hard on everybody. Yeah. But the good news is that it passes in a couple of years. Yeah. And they come back to you again. Yeah. And they love you again. So, yeah.
Being prepared
that's been the most challenging.
Yeah.
And, of course, the newborn days are, what's that expression? The days are long, but the years are short. Yeah. Right? When you're in it feels like it's going to last forever and you're never going to sleep. So to that, I always tell my clients, this too shall pass. I promise you one day they're going to sleep through the night. Toddlers, gosh, that was always my favorite age. Once they start running around and developing their personality. I don't really feel like you need advice for that period. I feel like that's a pretty joyous stage. That's pretty much pretty much what I would say.
You mentioned you have one grandchild, more than one?
Yeah,
one grandchild.
First grandchild.
Okay.
Yeah. She's 19 months old and they live in Roxborough, so they're close, and I get to
Okay.
babysit her one day a week.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who has it better when you have grandparents in the same town. Because as someone who has family members all far away,
Yeah.
I think it's you're spoiled to have
Yeah.
a grandparent nearby. But now, as a parent too, I understand that there's nothing better than just having all the fun times
Oh my gosh.
and then
Yeah.
sending them home.
That's
So
exactly what it is.
you're living the life too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to sleep at night, and then you get to go and just have fun and play,
Yeah.
and don't have to worry about the discipline or anything around the house. None of the million things that we have to do when we're young mothers.
Right.
So it's really she's the light of my life right now.
Yeah. So much fun.
Yeah, she is a beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something to look forward to too.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, thanks for coming and chatting with me. I'm not exactly sure what our time is, but yeah, we're coming up on the end. We're good. We're at about 25 minutes in.
Wow.
So
That went fast.
it did go fast. Unless there's anything else that you feel like you would like, either personally or professionally, for people to sort of know about you, there's some time to share that.
Well, I mean, professionally, it's easy to check out because it's all on my website. Right?
Yeah. And we're going to have a companion blog to go with this that people can just click right on, get to your website, follow you on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you are.
And personally, I'm an empty nester
Mm-hmm.
with 3 grandchildren and the grandchild. Pretty simple life right now. It's an easy stage of life.
Yeah.
It's me, the puppy, the cat.
Yeah.
And it's good life. Yeah.
That's
It's nice I can finally do something I really want to do
Mm-hmm.
and have the time to dedicate to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is a beacon of hope for all of our doulas who are in the thick of trying to manage their birth work. And
And I give you guys so much credit. I don't think I could have done this when I was younger. So I give you guys all the credit in the world for what you're doing for our community.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. It takes everybody. Sometimes when I'm trying to sort of help people figure out what all the different options there are for doulas, I'll say, well, I mean, do you picture your doula being, someone younger, single, maybe hasn't had kids, but has a lot of free flexibility and a lot of the energy that comes from being newer to this? Or do you want someone who's a young mom who's in the thick of it like you? Or do you want the wisdom of our grandmother doulas? Because there's a collection of some of my very favorite doulas in the city are the grandmother doulas. I think of Kathy McCormick and Selma Brothman.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
get to be in that club now with your granddaughter.
I'm honored to be in that one.
And so I think that's, and everybody has a different, I never get the same response. Nobody wants, it's not just for, success for doulas who are, single and easy breezy. And it's not just for young moms because they've done it recently. And it's not just for older, more seasoned life bearers. But
well, as the definition of doula is, it's a woman who serves, right?
Yeah.
So really, it could be at any age. It's whatever the client's looking for.
Yeah.
And you never know, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you are going to be in this collection of people that I get to feature and let other people consider. So
thank you for having me, Elizabeth.
Yeah. And thank you for coming to me. And thanks for dealing with this one who's now sleeping.
Oh.
She's out.
Well, at least Mama gets a break now.
I do. I get a break. I think I left my soup on the stove too.
Oh no.
So I'll eat soup and we'll be back again. I'll poke my head in as I'm turning this off, but we'll be back again next Tuesday with, I'm not sure who. I'll check my calendar.
Right, I'll look for it.
But yeah, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Oh, she is sleepy now, huh?
She is done. Done.